Hello and welcome to livealittlehigher.com. Next week we will be celebrating the holiday of Shavuot, in which we were given the Torah at Mount Sinai around 3,500 years ago. The first thing the Jewish people did when Hashem offered them the Torah was that they said, Naseh v'nishma. We will do and we will learn. And it's interesting to note that this was something that was answered in the plural way. It wasn't answered like I will do and I will learn. It was said we will do and then we will learn. And this comes to teach us that every Jew is responsible for each other. We are not meant to be separate entities. We're actually each one part of a whole. And also it's impossible for every Jew to keep the Torah, to keep the 613 mitzvot all together, because there's some mitzvahs that are intended only for the Kohanim, there's some mitzvahs that are intended only for women, others are only intended for men, some are only applicable in the land of Israel, some were only applicable in the times of the temple, some are only applicable to the Kohen. So if we look at the whole Torah, there's things that we don't do. And so the only way in which we can complete the whole Torah is if we look at each other as one. When we see each other as one, then we all benefit from the other. So if I light Shabbat candles, for example, I'm a woman and I light Shabbat candles on Friday to usher in the Shabbos, then the act of me lighting these Shabbat candles benefits all the Jewish people around the world. So here also there's something very interesting in the book of the Divar Tavam by Rabbi Moshe Bogomilsky. He asks certain questions which he answers, and they're very interesting. And one of the questions he asks is, why did the Jews say first Naseh, we will do, and then Nishma, we will listen? And it says here that the Gemara in Avodat Zarah explains that the pasuk, he shone forth from their seir, he appeared from Mount Paran, means that first Hashem proposed to the children of Esav. So what it's telling us here is that Hashem offered the Torah to other nations before he offered it to the Jewish people. And he did this so afterwards the other nations would not be complaining to him and saying, why did you never offer it to us? But actually it was intended to be for the Jewish people. So for example, he offered to the children of Esav who lived in Seir, and they accepted the Torah and they refused. And afterwards he went to the children of Ishmael, which lived in Paran, and to accept the Torah, and they refused. So the word Esav is related to the word Asiya, which means doing, action. And the word Ishmael is related to the word Shama'el, in listening to God. In reality, Esav, who was approached by Hashem and whose name denotes doing, refused to do. He didn't want to do. And Ishmael, who is supposed to listen to Hashem, didn't want to listen. So that's why the Jewish people, they rectified this when they came and they said, Naseh v'nishma. They say, we will do and then we will listen. Also, it's interesting to note that they didn't say we will listen and then we will do. Like actually people, the most common thing that you would do when you're going to do something is first you have to learn it and then you will go and do it, right? So if you're going to, for example, take a new job, you want to be trained first for this job and then you will accept the job and go and perform the job. But here the Jewish people said otherwise. They say we will do and then we will learn. And why is this? Because the Torah is something that is you have to do it to be able to learn it. Obviously we have to learn certain laws before we perform them so we can do them right. And it's knowledge. We cannot be ignorant people. We have to learn that, for example, if you want to keep a kosher kitchen, you need to learn the laws of kashrut. You need to know that you cannot mix milk and meat, and you have to know that you have to buy kosher meat and how to deal with the kitchen and how to kosher your utensils and all that. But you will never come to really understand the purpose of kashrut until you do it, because the doing the action is what gives you infuses you with the knowledge. So here also, when the Jewish people were receiving the Torah, it says that they stood at the foot of the mountain in Shemot, and the Gemara Shabbat says that by stating Batachti Abar in the bottom of the mountain, the pasuk teaches that Hashem lifted the mountain and covered them with it as though they were as if it was an overturned barrel. And there are many explanations for this. One of them is that it was like a chuppah, and the Jewish people was their wedding ceremony with Hashem. The Jewish people are compared to the bride, and Hashem is compared to the groom. And another explanation it gives us here is that actually Hashem overturned the barrel, the mountain, and said to them, if you don't keep my commandments, then I'm going to throw this mountain on top of you, and this is going to be your graveyard. And then this is the end of it, because there's no purpose for the Torah if you're not going to follow it. So we have to understand one thing. Hashem created the Torah 2,000 years before the creation of the world. The Torah came before the creation of the world. The Torah actually is the blueprint of creation. It's the whole world was created for the Torah. And the Torah actually is the guide to give us peace in the world. And Hashem created the world for peace. He created it for Hesed, for kindness, because He has so much kindness in Him that He wanted to give it to others. Because of His love of kindness, He wanted to share it with other people. So He created the world to share His knowledge and His will, and through the Torah. But if there's people who don't want to follow the Torah, who are not going to live up to His ideals, then there's no purpose for the creation of the world. There's no purpose for a world, and that would have been the end of us. So here there's something beautiful that is given to us by the Tanya and by Rabbi Shneur Salman of Liadi, and it says that a Jew's service of Hashem must be out of ahava, out of love, and out of fear. Like, we need both feelings to be able to serve Hashem. And in the Tanya, in chapters 40 and 45, the Rebbe explains them as wings. Like, you do a mitzvah, but if it's not done with love and with fear of God, then that mitzvah won't be able to elevate itself. So a bird might have a head and a body, but if it doesn't have wings, it's not going to be able to fly. The same way, a Jew, when he's doing a mitzvah, he needs to have the proper intention when doing a mitzvah, so that mitzvah can soar up. And so it says here that nevertheless is the wings that enable the head and the body to fly and reach heights. By way of example, fear and love raise the Torah and commandments. One engages into an exalted height. It's very different when we do things by rote than when we do them with awareness and mindfulness and ahava, love, appreciation of what we're doing. And fear would mean, a higher level of fear is that if we don't do it, we're going to be disconnected from Hashem. So we do it really because we want to give pleasure to God. We want to let Him know that we love Him. So here it says that also the Rebbe, Shneur Salman of Liadi, he gives a beautiful, noble explanation of why Hashem put the mountain on top of us. And he says that in order for us to be able to receive the Torah, we had to have bitul, nullification. The ego had to be taken down. And what happened was, when the Jewish people were in Egypt as slaves, the heartbreaking labor of putting mortars and bricks, and they were mistreated. What happened to them really broke them. They were broken people, and they were in a very low level of spirituality. They were really almost dead, spiritually talking. And when they came out of Egypt, Hashem gave them the time to be able to uplift them. And through the 40 days wandering in the desert till they got to receive the Torah, they were able to refine themselves and be able to receive the Torah with joy and with love, and with the ability to say Naseh v'nishma, we will do and then we will learn. Why? Because they had already been able to nullify themselves from the slavery. They were able to get out of it. And the Exodus, their level of Avodat Hashem, of love of Hashem, had really gone up immensely. So the Rebbe explains that Hashem, when he put the mountain on top of their heads, what he was really doing was he was enveloping them. He was like giving them a hug. It's like when you see a lost, long friend and he comes and he hugs you and he envelops you in this hug, you can feel that love of your friend. And when you feel this love, then your own love is going to come out also. It's a reciprocal love. So what Hashem was doing was he was infusing us with his love so we could feel the love for him. So the question here is, why would he, if he wanted to give us this love and he wanted us to feel it, why would he tell us that if we don't feel commit to the Torah and the mitzvahs, the mountain would fall on top of our heads and that would be the end of us? Why would he do that? So when Hashem enveloped the Jews in the mountain, with the mountain hovering on top of them, what he did was he brought them to the sublime level of bitul, represented by the declaration of Naseh v'Nishma. They were completely nullified in front of God. And we have no mind and will of our own, and we are totally subjugated to his will. Thanks to his self-nullification, they were worthy to be recipients of Hashem's Torah. So it says here that it's very different when a Jew does a mitzvah because he wants to do it than when he does it because he's commanded to do it. So it does have a reward when a person does something because he wants to do it. I'm not saying it's not a good way. Like if you love doing a mitzvah, for example, you love doing Bikur Holim, visiting sick people, it really touches you and you enjoy doing it. Yes, you have a merit for that. I'm not saying no, but it comes in a natural way. But if you do it because Hashem says in the Torah that you have to visit the sick people, and for you it's hard to do it, it's a hard mitzvah to accomplish, but nevertheless you go and you visit and you bring joy to other people, and you do the mitzvah, then the merit is much, much bigger than when you do it out of love, out of happiness. So Hashem put the mountain on top of our heads because he wanted us to receive the Torah in that way. He wanted us to receive it because this is what Hashem wants from us. It's very different to do something because I want to do it than to do something because another person wants me to do it. It's a different level of doing, because you're not doing for yourself. It's not an egocentric thing. You're doing for the other. So the truth is that Hashem put the mountain on top of our heads to give us the merit to choose to do the Torah, to choose to do his doing and learning and doing his Torah out of love for him. And I want to finish with a story which I heard many, many years ago, which really resonates, and it's beautiful. And it's the story of a prince that was ready to become a king, and the father wanted to test his son and see that he was going to be a good king. So he sent him to a land where there were many, many diamonds. It was an island. And he said to the son, go to this island for a month and take all the diamonds you can and bring them back to the kingdom. So the son went with his crew and he went to this island. When he got there, it was just as the father has said, there were thousands and billions and millions of diamonds, beautiful diamonds. He started to collect them and put them in the boat. And time went by, he got hungry. So he went to a restaurant in the island and he ordered. And when he was ready to pay, he brought out from his pocket some diamonds to pay the bill. And the lady that was taking care of him started to laugh and said, "You're crazy. Here in this island, diamonds mean nothing. They're worthless." So the prince said, "So what is worth here?" And she says, "Here, the only thing that is worth anything is rotten fish." So the prince said, "Rotten fish?" He says, "Yes, rotten fish. That is our currency in this island." So he went and started looking for rotten fish, because if that's what was worth there, he needed it to be able to survive for a month so he could pay his bills. So by the middle of the month, he forgot that his father has to come for the diamonds, and he started filling the boat with fish, with rotten fish. And when he came back to his father's kingdom, and everybody was waiting for him, there was a whole parade and people waiting for him, the prince is coming back with all these diamonds. Suddenly this horrible smell started to come out of the water, and the people were like petrified with that smell. When the son came and the father was waiting for him, and the father says, "So you brought the diamonds?" And the son said, "No, father, I found something more precious than diamonds. I found rotten fish. That is what it really matters in this island, and that's what is worth something. So I brought you tons and tons of rotten fish." So the story really applies to us, because when we came to this world, and before coming here, Hashem told us, come for the diamonds, come for the Torah, come for the mitzvot. That is what's really precious for me. And we come down to this world, and then after a few years we forget that we came for the Torah and the mitzvot, and we get enchanted with the material world, and we start forgetting what really counts and what's really important and what really is eternal. And by the end of our lives, we have accumulated a lot of rotten fish, and we haven't gotten the diamonds. So really, the Torah is a guide to life. Hashem gave it to us so we know what's important, so we can have a relationship with Him, so we can have a loving relationship with Him, and a reciprocal relationship in which He gives and we give. Because the only way we can give to Hashem is by giving Him what He really loves. And how can we know what He really loves? Is if we learn His Torah and we do His mitzvahs. That's what He really loves. And that's what really matters. At the end of the day, that's what you take with you in 180 years. The rest stays here. So I hope that you have inspiring Shavuot, a Hag Sameach, that you are able to receive the Torah with joy, with a pure heart, like a child, and that you run to do the mitzvah, that you run to learn Torah, that you love it, that it becomes part of you, that it's you, really, because us and the Torah, we're one. And when we're really able to connect to it, then we can really live a beautiful, fulfilling life. So I wish you a Hag Sameach. Thank you, and live a little higher.